let's start with the basics, okay? Bare basics. What the fuck is an action, okay? If you actually click on it, you can see everything that counts as an action. Okay, so my Eldritch Blast, that's an action. Any weapon attack, it's usually going to be an action. Main hand attack, my ranged attack, action, right? When you get weapon actions, if you're proficient in a weapon, which I'll talk about a little bit, you get one of these weapon actions, sometimes multiple. There's typically actions. Some of them are bonus actions, though. So what the hell is a bonus action? Okay, well, that's just another action, but only specific things can take bonus actions. You'll see at the bottom here of the little tooltip, it says bonus action and 10 feet move speed, right? So like anything that's super important about what the spell is going to cost, right? You're going to need at least 10 feet of movement remaining, and somebody just fucking died. That's funny, but you're going to need a bonus action, okay? So when you click these, it's actually really easy because you click them and it tells you exactly what will be required of it. So you see this spell, or it's not really a spell, it's my lay on hands charge since I'm a paladin, but these are considered spells. Thunderous Smite, Bless, they require an action and they require a level 1 spell slot. Now, what is a spell slot? Let's talk about that a little bit. Spell slots are basically how many charges of spells you can use, right? So I have 2 level 1 spell slots and 2 level 2. So basically that means that I can cast 2 level 1s or higher spells, or I'm sorry, level 1 or lower. So since level 1 is the lower one, 2 level 1 spells, or I can cast 2 level 2 spells. So if I wanted, I could use the level 2 slots to cast level 1 spells as well, but I can't use level 1 slots to cast level 2 spells. You understand? So I can use level 2 to cast level 2 and level 1 spells, and then the level 1 spell slots to cast level 1 spells only. For a good amount of spells, they become more powerful when you use a higher spell slot. So if you use a level 2 spell slot, it's gonna do more damage or it's gonna do more healing, the level 1 spell. So it's not always the case though, but you could find a use for a level 1 spell that doesn't scale up. If you're at a level 1 spell slot and you're like, oh shit, I need this fucking spell, dude, then use a level 2 spell slot. It's not that big a deal. There's also class specific resources. This is for Paladin, this is Oath Charge, okay? It's going to be different for each class. That's going to be definitely dependent on your class and your subclass as well. Bards get Bardic Inspiration, etc. So this will be your bonus class resource. If you click on it, you can see what you can use. So for me, I have Healing Radiance since I am the specific subclass of Paladin that's like more healing focused. I'll do like an AoE heal, right? So it definitely depends on your subclass, but all Paladins, for example, will get Oath Charges. The same thing with this Lay on Hands is also a Paladin thing. So let's move on to what are cantrips, right? You probably started character creation, you go, what the fuck is a cantrip? That's exactly what I did. I'm sure it's a D&D thing normally, but I didn't know what the fuck this was. So a cantrip is like a spell, basically. There's utility cantrips and there's like attack cantrips, right? Like these are all attack cantrips that I've got right here. Eldritch Blast is the best attack cantrip in the game, and but I digress. They're spells that don't require spell slots. You can cast these infinitely. So all it takes is an action, right? So instead of attacking with my weapon or casting a spell, I can use a cantrip, and then next turn I can use it again and again and again and again. Turn after turn. I can't use it multiple times in one turn, except with exceptions for things that grant you an additional action. Okay, so I probably should explain to you guys a little bit about proficiencies. What the fuck is a proficiency, Luke? Well, basically you're proficient in different things. If you go over to your character sheet and then you go to the detailed view, you can see these proficiency bonuses. So I'm proficient. My main character is proficient in light armor and shields. So that means if I equip medium armor or heavy armor, I'm not proficient in that, and that's going to hurt me actually quite a bit. It's going to hurt me more than it helps me. You don't want to equip anything that you're not proficient in. Same thing with weapons. If you use any weapon you're not proficient in, you're going to suck with it. You're basically going to lose accuracy and damage. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. And you also, when you're not proficient in something, you see how I get like the bonus action, like topple. You see on the tooltip there, it says main hand only, topple. That's if I'm proficient in the weapon, I believe. At the very least, this one is proficiency with this weapon type unlocks that weapon ability. And weapon abilities are good. They're just additional effects or additional damage. Sometimes you're definitely going to want to do it. So highly recommend that. Big thing about this game, you can push people off edges and they'll fucking die. Okay, so if I blasted this guy off the edge, he would probably die. If not, he would take a ton of damage. Look how far of a drop that is. The bigger the drop, the more the damage. There's multiple ways to do this. If you're a high strength character, this character is not. Everybody gets access to shove action, which is only a bonus action. So I could walk over there, I could attack him, and then I could shove him. Or I could walk over there and use a spell that's supposedly supposed to push him, and maybe it fails, and then I at least have the last ditch effort of shoving them. Shoving typically doesn't go as far, and you might not be able to shove heavier targets. This guy I'm not so sure, but usually with the spell, particularly Thunder Wave is the one that comes to mind when I think of it. Thunder Wave pushes people back, and it's an AoE, so if you get close and get like, it's like a cone, and you can just blast people off the edge. So that's like really fun. The verticality in this game is really fun, and and there's a lot of it because there's also a jump action. It should be a bonus. It might be a bonus on this one. Yeah, jump. So it depends on your strength how far you can jump, but you can jump up onto places. There are height bonuses. So if you are higher than your enemy, you will get basically a height bonus or advantage, whatever you want to call it, and that will increase your accuracy, and it increases your range a little bit as well with like ranged attacks, I believe. So that's really powerful. It gives you advantage on those. You definitely want to be doing that. Dip is interesting. I don't really use it much, but for your melee characters, if you can dip it into something, it's highly worth it. Dipping it into usually fire. You can do poison. It needs to be a dippable surface. Water, I believe you can dip as well, but you can't dip into blood, for example. This isn't Divinity. You won't get a damage bonus from dipping into blood or anything like that. So it has to be a dippable surface like fire, like I said, water. When a teammate gets down, okay, so if one of my guys were to go down, they will go into like a down phase. They won't just die outright. They'll be in a down phase, and depending on if they save, basically they have to roll dice to survive. And if they fail the dice roll 3 times, they die for good, which you can revive them with the scroll. Or if they succeeded 3 times, then they don't have to make any more saves. They don't have to make any more rolls. So if they go down, you want to get over to them and pick them up with this help action. If you just click on them and you have enough movement and an action, then you'll help them up automatically. Or you can heal them with the spell. The best thing for that is the healing. It's not healing touch, but there's another healing spell that lets you heal from range. It's called Healing Word, and you can heal. It doesn't do as much as Healing Touch, but it'll pick somebody up, so you won't have to worry about running over to them and using an action, because Healing Word is actually a bonus action, so you can still attack. You Healing Word somebody. That's why I recommend always having at least one party member that has Healing Word. It'll make sure that your party doesn't have to go down and you don't or die for good, and you don't have to use your scroll of Revivify. These things are expensive and they're not easy to find. You're probably wondering what the fuck like a saving throw is, right? You're maybe not wondering that from the jump because you don't even know, you've never even heard in your life, but that's a thing in this game, okay? So some spells have something called a saving throw. Do you see how this says strength save? Thundering Smite, strength save. Next where it says melee and attack roll. Strength save, that basically means, you see how it says pushes your target 10 feet away and possibly knocks prone? So they can make a strength save, which means they roll the dice and then add their strength modifier. Now, you know about stats, presumably. If you don't, you should look into my character creation guide. I even have a quick one on my shorts channel that you can watch, and it'll kind of explain the stats a little bit. But strength is great if you're a melee fighter, but if you're not, particularly a bigger, like an actual fighter, or somebody who uses like two-handed weapons or something. Otherwise, you probably want to use dexterity-based weapons, because strength is pretty much useless other than if you're using a big melee weapon. So a lot of people won't have strength, and there's wisdom saves, there's constitution save, like you see right here. There's usually a lot of wisdom saves, dex saves, so you can see what kind of save that the target has to make. It might negate the damage from your spell completely. It might just get rid of, see, on save target still takes half damage. So in this case, you won't negate it entirely. They'll take half the damage, but that's still less than intended. So if you want to check how much, like what their stats are, this guy is strength 18, for example. That's his highest thing. So anything with the strength save, I probably want to avoid. If I can get something that has a dex save or a charisma save, then that would be far superior because he has low dex and charisma. So that's a great thing to prioritize when you're trying to fight somebody, is looking at their stats. If you're going to use something that like can be saved, then you're going to want to check if that guy is, you know, pretty proficient in that stat to avoid wasting your action or your time. The same thing goes for you. You make saves. Everybody has these spells too, basically. And there's also checks. So a lot of things in this game add damage based on what you're like this, for example, scales off intelligence. This is a firebolt and evocation cantrip. You see how it says int? So whatever your intelligence is going to actually affect, I believe, the chance for it to hit, as well as the damage possibly, but I believe it's just the chance to hit. So you want to have a higher intelligence if you're going to cast stuff like this. Otherwise, if you have a really low intelligence, you shouldn't even bother picking this kind of stuff up. I think that's about it for the basics. There's nothing really else to know besides the fact that on top of the action, bonus action, everything, you also have a certain amount of movement per turn, which is affected by, I believe, your race mainly, and your gear. If anything adds gear, I don't think the weight of the gear matters, but yeah, you have movement on top, so movement won't cost an action or bonus action. It's all good. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. If this helped you out, make sure to leave a like and comment. I don't know what class you're gonna roll, or perhaps if you had trouble with the combat, what's your favorite weapon type is. These are all good questions. If you're a big papa, you can also hit sub. I got a lot of other guides on Baldur's Gate coming out, and a couple that are out already. So yeah, peace and hair grease, guys. Peace the fuck out.